March is Colorectal Cancer Awareness Month. Excluding skin cancers, the American Cancer Society says colorectal cancer is the third most common cancer diagnosed in both men and women in the U.S.
Alyssa Thurlow spoke to one Maine man living with stage 4 colon cancer about the trend of colon cancer diagnosis in younger people and his recent trip to Washington, D.C., pushing for more funding for cancer research and screening.
By 2030, so within the next 7 years, colorectal cancer will be the leading cancer killer for Americans under the age of 50.
Like many others diagnosed with colorectal cancer across the country, Trevor Maxwell is concerned about the growing number of younger people being diagnosed with the disease. He was diagnosed in March 2018 at the age of 41.
I've had 5 major surgeries. I've done 50+ rounds of chemo and immunotherapy. And next week, I go for my 6th abdominal surgery at Mass General Hospital. I still have active disease, but I feel really good. I feel strong.
Strong enough to be a voice for thousands of men and women living with colon cancer. In 2020, he founded a support group called Man Up to Cancer. They have 2,000 members from all over the U.S., Canada, and even Europe.
Our mission is all about supporting men because we know they don't engage in supports as much as our women counterparts. So we have a Facebook group, an annual retreat. We do a chemo backpack program. And really, we're all about just direct guy-to-guy support for going through the cancer journey.
We have been caught in the cancer wildfire, and it is not encroaching, it's here. And those of us in that wildfire often feel unseen, unheard, discarded.
Just last week, Maxwell gave a speech at the United in Blue rally at the Washington Monument. It was part of the Call on Congress event sponsored by the group Fight Colorectal Cancer. They're calling on Congress to devote more funding to research and screening for the disease.
There's progress being made all the time. There's hundreds of clinical trials that are happening across the country. So take that big breath, understand that it is not a death sentence anymore. I've lived an excellent life with stage 4 for 5 years. Yes, it's been hard, but I've had amazing memories with my family and lived really with engagement and purpose. And you can have that too.
Alyssa Thurlow, WABI TV5 News.
Students taking part in a networking and hiring event at Kennebec Valley Community College. It was about career opportunities within the electrical technology field. Vaughn Woodruff is the training center director for Revision Energy, one of the 9 companies who spoke to students today. He says the field is diminishing due to workers retiring and some taking a different path. He also says the field is in high demand due to focus on climate change, which has created opportunities from residential to commercial work.
For young folks like we saw in today's event who already have done the coursework, we are able to support them in their growth, becoming managers, becoming more skilled electricians, getting that hands-on experience to complement the education that they get here.
The 30 students he spoke to will be graduating in May with either an associate's in electrical technology or with a certificate. We'll have more on this story coming up on TV5 News at 6.